Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. The WBC is blocking undisputed fights. Okay? That's my opinion, and there's a reason why I feel that way. Look, Mauricio Sulaiman, when you look at what's going on, right? This guy has gone on and done several interviews. And I actually went out there and did a video about him because I thought he was going the right direction with his initiatives and his motivation. Recently, he said that he was frustrated with Josh Taylor, how Josh Taylor ended up being stripped of his WBA title because he was being forced to defend two of his titles against two different mandatories at the same time, which is impossible. As a result, he was stripped of the WBA title because it was going to a purse bid for $200,000, and Josh Taylor, after making millions, wasn't going to sit there and fight for a piece of $200,000, a $200,000 purse. So Sulaiman said he planned to sit down with all the sanctioning bodies, collectively agreed when they have a situation of a unified champ or an undisputed champ to kind of decide which belt would get defended first. And that way, once they're in agreement, they can avoid having an undisputed champion be stripped of a title, because he says he's all about having an undisputed champion in each division, and the undisputed bouts should take priority. Now, these were Sulaiman's words, right? Back in 2015, Sulaiman also said the same thing. He goes on to say he's striving to bring an end to the era of the alphabet belts by staging an inter-sanctional tournament to crown a singular champion in each weight division, right? In that article, he said the first step is to get each of the four main sanctioning bodies, now this is back in 2015 to 2022, to agree in a principle to stage a tournament between the title holders. Now, what they were trying to do back then was a tournament, but basically to end up with an undisputed champion. We're trying to do a tournament of champions to get the champions of the organizations to fight each other, and that way we give to the public the fights they want to see and determine one world champion and undisputed distinction. He said they're trying to move it along. Every organization has their own rules, their own agenda, but we are trying to get a tournament going for the fans. Now, this is the problem. Now, this is what he's saying back in 2015, right? All about having an undisputed champion. Then he comes in 2022 talking about having an undisputed champion. But then you look where he has Caleb Smith, a WBC, who's ranked in the WBC as a mandatory, to the winner of Beterbiev and Yardy, right? Instead of Sulaiman stepping aside and allowing, because see, just because you got a boxer with the title looking to fight another boxer with the rest of the titles, and they would make an undisputed bout. Yeah, that takes priority, but that doesn't mean that it's going to happen. They still have to get agreement from whatever sanctioning body has the mandatory to step aside or whatever they agree to. So it's not just a given that, oh, these two guys have all the belts, they want to fight, that's going to happen. Now, that's not how that works. So what's happening here, the WBC for all these years is saying there should be one fighter in every division, one undisputed champion. They come out a few months ago, there should be one undisputed champion. But because it benefits them to have their mandatory go and fight the winner of Beterbiev and Yardy, that way they can make money, they don't want to allow the winner of Beterbiev and Yardy to go fight Bivol, which is what Bivol wants, which is what the winners want. So he's blocking it. And to me, that's frustrating. Very frustrating. And then what's even more frustrating is now that you got the backstory on Sulaiman, is he goes out here that says, we're doing our best to make sure that the mandatory contender is of the highest value, right? He's discussed with the organization to do elimination bouts. Now, then the unified champion will not have to face mandatory after mandatory after mandatory. So you got a unified champion out there in Beterbiev, which I think he's going to beat Yardy. Then he's going to have to fight another mandatory in Caleb Smith, because that's what Sulaiman wants, instead of just allowing the undisputed bout to take place. Now, he's saying this will take time. He said the same thing back in 2015. It will take time. the first step is to get everybody to come together to agree. So he's been saying the same thing over and over for years. He goes on to say mandatories have got a bad name of late, largely because of 4 different set of rankings. Saying the same thing in 2015. A boxer can over time find his way creeping near the top of the rankings as other boxers lose, rather than any big wins the boxer might achieve. Indeed, as ratings are manipulated, it can be counterproductive for highly ranked boxers to take risks when there'll be a title shot coming along if they just wait along. Now, that's what you've been seeing happen, and that's what's going to happen more than likely with Terence Crawford and Alexis Rocha. Now, when you look at, now that you understand what this guy Mauricio Suleiman is saying, if you look at what he's saying here, he's talking about not having to have a unified champion face mandatory after mandatory, but he's doing that by pushing Caleb Smith instead of allowing the undisputed fight at 175 to take place between Bivol and the winner of Yarde and Bertabiev, because he wants his guy, Caleb Smith, to go out there and fight. But then you look all the way back here from 2015 and what he's been saying, he's been saying there should be one name, one face in each division. So Suleiman, to me, will say anything, and he's blocking this fight at 175. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't expect Errol Spence and Crawford to fight. I keep saying this. Suleiman is all about the mandatories. You look at right now, people get saying, Errol Spence and Crawford are going to fight. The undisputed bout takes priority. Look, man, nothing happened this December between Crawford and Spence. We understand who had a voluntary defense, who didn't. We understand negotiations broke down. Going into next year, Crawford has a mandatory. Okay, he has a mandatory. That's a fact. So when Crawford returns, he has a mandatory. Spence has a mandatory. And this is what you're going to see. So when you say, okay, once they both get through the mandatories, Crawford fights whoever, I think Crawford is going to fight Alexis Rocha. Then you look at Spence. Spence is going to fight, what's his name? Keith Thurman. And this is where it gets interesting. After Spence fights Thurman, Spence has 120 days to fight Ennis or give up that belt. I think it's the IBF belt. He's going to get stripped. So Spence has to go and fight Boots Ennis after he fights Keith Thurman. He has 120 days or he loses the belt. So Terence Crawford is just out there in the breeze, man. And it sucks. It sucks. And Suleiman is sitting back and he's kind of created all this because he's not working with these other sanctioning bodies the way he said they should be working together. So as a result, everyone, as far as these sanctioning bodies, they have their own set of rules and they're doing what's best for them. They don't care. They don't care. They absolutely don't care. So we as boxing fans sit back here because we're not part of those negotiations, those discussions. We're not that fly on the wall. We have no idea what's really going on except for the little blurps we get in articles or some of these videos YouTubers put out where half of that is just opinion, which is cool because it's just healthy dialogue. But some of you viewers take what these YouTubers are saying as fact. That shit is not fact. Unless you get it from the fly on the wall. And then you can't trust what the sanctioning bodies are saying. You can't even trust what the boxers are saying. But if that damn fly on the wall could talk, then we can get something concrete that we can move forward to with confidence that there's truth behind it. But the one thing I can tell you, and I'll say this is, I can't say it's fact, but from what I'm seeing and all of the evidence out there, these sanctioning bodies are not looking to work together to push an undisputed champion in any of these weights, in my opinion. Unless the money is just that great where it's a win for those guys. You look at what's happening right now with the WBC trying to block. They're not trying. They have already blocked the undisputed fight at 175 by pushing Caleb Smith to face the winner of Bertabiev and Yarde instead of allowing the winner of those guys to fight Bivol, which is what they all want, except for the damn WBC. And I'm going to tell you something else. The damn WBA and the WBC, they don't get along. they don't get along. I'm telling you, man, it's crazy. Whenever I hear Suleiman talking about the WBA, he's always like, you know, the WBO and IBF, we have a good relationship, but we know we're working on some things with the WBA. That's because the WBA is not going for their crap, man. The WBA, all these guys are about their money. You know, millions and millions of dollars these sanctioning bodies make off of the efforts of boxers every year. They're not, come on, man. So I wanted to bring that to you, man. And what I think they should do, you know what? A tournament of champions, a Super 6 tournament, you know, you got to get sanctioning bodies to agree. Each different boxer, if they go into like another like Super 6 tournament, they all have different promoters. They all have different managers. You got to get all of them to agree. Then you got to have backup fighters just in case someone falls out. Like to put on another tournament similar to like what the Super 6 was to determine who the top dog is in the weight division. That is damn near impossible, especially right now with the climate of boxing. To get all the damn sanctioning bodies to sign off, to get all these different promoters, all these different managers, all these different boxers to sign off. And there's so many funky rules. So that being said, when it comes to Spence and Crawford, don't plan on watching it. Look at what's going on. Boots, he's the man. Boots is now the mandatory to Spence. I think it's for the IBF. If he beats this guy in January, and after Spence defends his titles against Thurman. That shit just dropped yesterday. But then even look at what's going on with Stanionis. Look what's going on with Virgil Ortiz. Look at these guys are being made to fight. That's the WBA. Like, they're not working together. Because the winner, let me tell you, Spence is going to end up getting stripped. Because I am confident that the WBA, the winner of Stanionis and Ortiz, they are going to be mandatory to Spence. And I have no doubt the WBA is going to do what they did to Josh Taylor, and they're going to mandate that Spence fights the winner within a time frame that's going to conflict with what Spence is doing with either Thurman or with Ennis. And as a result, they're going to force this purse bid crap on Spence, and Spence is going to get stripped of that title. Now, those are facts. Y'all can leave your comments below and let me know what you think. But I'm telling you, pay attention to what's going on. Look at what these people are doing. And also, I don't think it helps a boxer when he keeps talking about dropping the belts and moving up. Dropping the belts and moving up. Shit, man. I'm sanctioning bodies don't want to hear that. That sounds to me like you don't want to be the champion. And that's why words matter. And these guys need to learn to listen a whole lot and talk very little. So that's just my 2 cents. That being said, y'all keep cool. This guy Suleiman, I think he comes up with some good ideas. I think the franchise champion is crap. I think all the belts he creates are pretty cool. But this flip-flopping, man, there needs to be one champion, undisputed. Oh, no, we shouldn't have mandatory after mandatory. Oh, matter of fact, I got my guy here who's a mandatory. Although I don't really think we should push mandatory after mandatory, let's push my guy anyway because I want to make sure I get these fees paid to my organization. It's horrible. So then the other sanctioning bodies look and say, well, damn, you doing it. This is what we talked about, trying to agree on, to collectively be on the same sheet of music. But you want to go out there and be all about self? Well, we're going to do the same thing. And who suffers are the boxers. And fans, because we don't get to see the fights we want to see when we should see them. But I have a feeling Crawford and Spence, there will not be an undisputed fight between those guys, because if the way it's going, and you can say I'm wrong, but if you say I'm wrong, don't fly in like a seagull, drop crap off and fly out. At least say why you think I'm wrong. Because I'm telling you right now, Spence has to fight Thurman. After that, within 120 days, he has to fight Boots. Then you look at Stanionis and Ortiz. The winner of that is the mandatory to Spence. And if the WBA says they have 120 days to fight him, Spence has 120 days to fight them, they don't have to understand that Spence is fighting Thurman and has to go fight Boots. They operate independent of the other sanctioning bodies. And that's what happened to Josh Taylor. It's impossible to defend the belts against two people at the same time. It's just not feasible. And that's what these sanctioning bodies do when they want to get their belts back, to go out and keep making money and get their little 3%. And it's horrible. But that being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. I'm in the breeze.